Salute BookTube. Welcome to my channel. Thank you for being here. It's Tuesday. That means Tag Tuesday, although technically it's actually past midnight here where I am. So it's technically Wednesday. So I'm doing this really, really late, but I thought I would do it even though I'm quite tired and sleepy. I really wanted to make this tag. The tag is called the Book Fan Behavior Tag, and I was tagged by Andrew at You Could Be Reading More. Andrew has a very interesting channel here on BookTube. He should have more followers, in my opinion, more views. He's a really prolific reader, and he's also a very prolific booktuber. He uploads quite regularly, and he reads quite regularly or quite prolifically as well, in a wide variety of genres. So do check out his channel. I will link to it. I think, as Andrew himself says, he's everyone's favorite booktube girly. Uh, you watch his channel, you might get it. But um, the tag itself was actually created by the accidental bookseller. Again, I'll put the info in the description below. But thank you, Andrew, for tagging me, and we'll get to the questions. Or the prompts. Um, The first one is, do you carefully examine the condition of all copies of a book in a bookstore before buying one? Well, it says here, do you carefully examine? No, not carefully examine. Again, regulars to my channel will probably have heard me talk about this many, many times. But where I live, and I live in the United Arab Emirates, a small country in the Middle East, where I live in this country, there's only about 3 or 4 used bookstores. So you don't have too much choice, and you take whatever you can get when it comes to used English books. So for me, about carefully examining the condition of a copy before checking, I really can't be too picky. Because if I let that book go, I mean, if it's in terrible condition, maybe not. But if I do let a book go because of a small little mark or something like that, there's a strong possibility I'd never see that book again. So I can't be picky, is basically what I'm trying to say. So no, I don't carefully examine. Um, Not carefully. I'll take whatever I can get. Prompt number 2. If yes, are you a brazen about comparing them in front of others, or do you wait until it's quieter or other customers have gone? For if I'm comparing books, well, again, I'm usually at the nonfiction section, so it's usually very quiet. Like there's usually not that many people anyway, so I can usually what does it say? Wait until it's quieter, and then you can compare conditions of books. No, again, um, uh, if there are I don't really mind if there are other people in the bookstore. It's actually kind of cool to see if there's somebody else who's interested in books hanging around. But then it says, if yes, do you brazenly compare them in front of others, or do you wait until it's quieter? I don't go. It's not that big of a deal. Again, I can't be beggars can't be choosy. If you've got if you find a rare English book here that you've been looking for, you've been wanting to read, you just pick it up, regardless of the condition and regardless if anybody's watching. If I do find 2 books, the same copy, I will compare to see which one is better quickly. Just really quickly see which one is better, and obviously take the one that looks like it's in better condition. But I don't wait for it to be quiet, or to take the books to the side on a table and then compare and use a magnifying glass and look at it against the light. Nothing like that. No. Prompt number 3. Do you have a special book buying or book carrying bag that you use? Yes, I do. I have a couple of tote bags. I don't have them here. I forgot to bring them here, but I actually leave them in my car. I leave them in my car, so if I'm ever going book buying and have a lot of books, I can use the tote bags. I like tote bags. There are a bunch of them. There's one big one, and then I put a couple of smaller ones inside the big one and just leave it in the trunk of my car. But uh, I like tote bags because they're sturdy and they can carry heavy books. They're also, of course, good for the environment. That's the main reason. I don't like to use plastic if I don't have to. So I use tote bags to carry bags mostly, and you can use them over and over again, and they do the job. So, and speaking of tote bags, when I am traveling and I go to other countries and I go to bookstores in other countries, I used to I do it maybe less now, but I used to make it a point of actually buying the tote bag of the shop. Um, so if I'm in a bookshop in whatever city, London, I'll get the tote bag if they do sell tote bags. It's a nice souvenir and a good memory, but I don't do it as much now. But maybe I should have, or maybe I'll make a video someday of showing my tote bags from the bookstores from around the world that I've been to. Um, but yeah, I just thought on the subject of tote bags. Let's go to the next one. Prompt number 4. Do you have any book reading superstitions? No superstitions, nothing crazy. There is I don't know, it's weird. The only thing I do is when I finish a book, when it's done and I close the last page and it's, the back cover and it's finished. Sometimes I'll just do this for some reason. I don't know. Something really, I don't have, short answer is no. Not really. No superstitions. Like, I don't, celebrate after I read a book, or, uh, no superstitions. Short answer. I'm sorry if this is boring, but prompt number 5. Oh, it's very long. Okay, it says, what if you're on a cruise ship in the Pacific Ocean? I don't think I ever want to be in a cruise ship on the Pacific Ocean, but anyway, one evening a freak wave washes you overboard. Through hanging on some floating driftwood, you eventually are washed ashore on a deserted, sun-drenched island. During this time, your favorite book of all time is in a watertight, sealed bag in a rucksack on your back, as luck would have it. Months go by. You build a shelter and fish for food. You're always hungry but not starving. One day you take a walk along the island's beach shore. At the far end of the beach, you come across a man cooking food on a table. He is real. He offers you a glass of ice cold milk, a very large pizza with lots of toppings, and chocolate gateaux. Chocolate gateaux with cream. Ooh, nice. Fancy. Confused, you say you have no money. He says it's okay because you have 3 choices. You can A, give up give up your all-time favorite book for the meal and also get 1 meal a day for the next week. Or B, swap your all-time favorite book for 3 books on your TBR, which he can magically produce, though you get no food. Or C, you walk away, get no food, and keep your favorite book. These hypotheticals. These hypotheticals, I always do really badly with these. So you either give up your favorite book and you get 1 week's worth of meals. B, you swap your all-time favorite book for 3 of your TBRs, but no food. C, walk away and get no food and keep your favorite book. I think I would want food, so C is out of the question. C is definitely out of the question. B, swap your favorite, and B, you get no food either. So I think it's A for me. I would give up my all-time favorite book for the meal and also get 1 meal a day for the next week. Yeah, I'd give up the book for food, probably. I love reading, but not that much. Uh, I guess if I did get, I would be left with no books, and that would be a bummer. But I think if I was stuck in a deserted island, I wouldn't want to be reading. I think I would prefer very much more to write. If I was stuck on a deserted island, I would like, and I had no distraction, I had no phone, I had nothing like to bother me, no social media. I would write, I think is what I would do rather than read. I feel I'd be more productive if I was writing rather than just lounging around and reading on a deserted island. Uh, yeah, so I think I would write. I would hope I had pen and paper or some kind of typing device, and I would write, I think, definitely. And I would read my own writing for entertainment. Anyway, let's go to the next one, which is number 6. What do you use as a bookmark? A standard bookmark, something sentimental, or any piece of paper to hand? Ooh, I'm a very simple bookmark person. I use bookmarks. I don't use papers. But I don't use any special. I don't have any sentimental bookmarks. Actually, what I usually do, I get my bookmarks Usually at the bookstore when I'm purchasing, they'll have it on the counter. You get a free couple of, you can take one or two. I usually do that and then just keep them. If I do find I by chance get an aesthetically pleasing bookmark, or I go to a bookshop and they leave me a nice bookmark, I'll try not to use it. I'll keep it to the side. The bookmarks I usually use for my books are bent and some of them are torn, but they're not anything special. They're very standard bookmarks. Nothing fancy for me. No, nothing fancy. Again, I'm sorry if these are boring, but yeah, that's the answer for bookmark. I also sometimes find bookmarks in used books. They're just left behind by the previous owner. Just like the tote bags, I have a bunch of nice bookmarks from around the world. Maybe I should do like a video showing my bookmarks. That'd be cool. I think that would be interesting on BookTube. I don't think I've seen it before. People talk about bookmarks or tote bags, bookish tote bags. Something to think about. Maybe I'll make my own tag one day. Number 7. Do you buy more hardbacks or paper? Do you buy more? Do you buy more hardbacks or paperbacks, and why? I buy more paperbacks. I usually buy more paperbacks because they're cheaper, especially at the new bookstore. They're considerably cheaper than hardbacks. Um, um, that's what I usually buy. What do I prefer? I used to think hardbacks were better because they were more expensive and they were hardbacks. I would think, okay, that's more. It'll be more. It'll last longer. It'll be better quality. But to be honest with you, and this is discounting, of course, electronic books, which are much more popular these days. I'm beginning, after testing both hardbacks and paperbacks, I'm preferring to prefer paperbacks, like good sturdy paperbacks. I just find them a bit easier to handle, definitely than hardbacks. Some books look nice, of course, in hardback, but I mean, again, paperbacks are cheaper and easier to use. Um, so I usually buy paperbacks mostly. Yeah. Number 8. If you were to find a secret unpublished sequel manuscript to a famous book, what would it be a sequel to? Uh, there's a lot. Again, I'm mostly a nonfiction reader, so nonfiction doesn't really have sequel. I mean, they could have sequels. I can't think of a one page like history. I usually read history, but and nonfiction. So I'm trying to think, but nothing's coming to mind. But what is coming to mind is the one of the most recent fiction books I read was Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. And I'm sure it exists. I'm sure there's there are probably hundreds of thousands of Frankenstein prestige novels. I'm sure about that. So I'm pretty sure somebody's done a sequel for Frankenstein. And if it hasn't, which I doubt, but if there hasn't been, then I would really like a sequel. I don't know if a sequel exists, a famous sequel exists, but there's definitely, while reading Frankenstein, I could see a nice sequel. I don't want to say it now because I'd have to ruin the ending, but you can definitely make a interesting sequel about Frankenstein. It can go a whole bunch of places. It can go as wild as you want, but I think I would say that probably. Just that's the most recent one that comes to mind. Now number 9. What if? Okay, so another hypothetical. You live exactly half a mile from a major a book. You live exactly half a mile from a major chain bookstore, e.g., Waterstones or Barnes and Noble. Exactly half a mile, and no more, no less. The zombie apocalypse begins. Okay, like all survivors, you raid the supermarkets and pharmacies for lots of food, water, and medication. Okay, sufficient to last for months. You are holed up at home in a protected space. You begin to think of the bookshop, which probably won't have been looted. You wouldn't think zombies would go after books. All those thousands of books and series available. Despite your existing book collection, what do you do? Do you risk it all for hundreds of free new books? If so, how? Okay, not much of a hypothetical, more of a scenario type of thing. The zombie apocalypse. Uh, so it says here, I was gonna say, when I was reading, I have a lot of books that I think would keep me entertained for quite a long time, quite a big bunch of TBRs. So I don't, if I mean, that's why I buy them. I purchase a lot of books in case there is a zombie apocalypse and I do need to read books. I'll be well covered. So going to a bookstore, but it says here, despite your existing book collection. But as you can see, my book collection is quite extensive. But so it's saying, assuming despite your existing book collection, would you risk going out to potentially face zombies? Would you go to your favorite bookstore or the closest chain bookstore and grab 100 free books? Take that risk. Uh, I mean, if I was to do it and there were zombies about and I was trying to avoid them, I'd probably do it in the daytime. Maybe zombies aren't zombies only come out at night. Oh, that's vampires. Would I risk it? Would I risk it for 100 free books? Despite my existing library is quite good. I don't know if I would take that risk. Although 100 books is tempting. I mean, if I was to do it, I'd need a car. I'd probably lock it. I would hope that I had like bulletproof or break-proof windows, and I would just go as fast as I could. I'd probably carry a baseball bat and maybe a shotgun with me. Maybe then I would, but it's very strange questions here. Um, yeah, that's how I would if I was to. But would I? Again, my existing library is sufficient for me, and then for a while. I don't know if I'd risk it. Um, Although, yeah, like it says, the bookstore would probably be empty. I don't think the zombies would be too interested in it. And then this is the last one. When reading a book, do you just look at the words and read them, or do you use a finger or bookmark underneath the words to track your eye progress? Uh, no, I don't use my finger when I read. I just look at the words and read it. I don't use the bookmark and then go line by line and cover the lines underneath. Luckily, I don't have to do that. I've always been a good, quick reader, and I comprehend relatively quickly. Uh, One thing I do use is on a laptop when I'm reading on a laptop. If I'm reading news, for this you need a mouse. I have a habit of highlighting on a. So if I'm reading the news or even I don't usually read books on a laptop. And on a phone it won't work because on a phone it's with a finger. But if you have a mouse, I have a habit when I'm reading of highlighting what I'm reading with the mouse, the cursor. Um, I don't know why I do it. I think it's just, especially if it's a white background, and sometimes it's hard to notice where you are. So I'll highlight it, and usually with whatever Windows or I usually do Windows or browser. It's usually a blue color, which helps me differentiate lines on a laptop. Uh, that's when I do highlight. But on a book, a physical book, um, I don't need like to use my finger or anything. Um, oh, sorry, sorry, I lied. I thought number 10 was the last one. There's a couple more questions, or four more. It says, "Have you personally met any authors, and if so, who?" Okay, I read this one before. I have. Usually, when I meet authors, there is a book festival that goes on in a neighboring city, which I try to attend to every year. It's actually coming up quite soon. I think it's actually the end of this month, end of January. I don't know if I'm gonna go this year. I'm a bit busy, and the quality of the book festival has gone down actually in recent years. I wasn't impressed last year. But usually, most of the books I sign are local interest books, so I don't know how interesting it would be to show you guys. The subject matter is very local, the author is very local, and these are, again, I go history. um, but I do remember as one editions of the the book festival a couple of years ago. I found this book, and the author was there talking about the book. I purchased the book, and he did sign it for me. The author is Justin Marozzi. I think he's a well-known British historian. Writes a lot of books about the Middle East, and this is one of them. It's called Islamic Empires. Uh, the subtitle is 15 Cities That Define a Civilization. And you'll see right here, he signed my copy right there. So that's an example. This is one of the few, let's say, well-known international authors that I've that actually autographed my books. I'm not too interested with autographs. If the author's there and he's available or she's available and it's quick to get the autograph, I'll do it. But I'm not too fussed, or I'm not a collector in that sense. But there's just one thing. This is one of the few books that got signed by a author of, I want to say, worldwide repute, but pretty popular historian, especially historian of Middle Eastern subjects. So I got the autograph. I was very happy. This is a nice hardback. I paid a bit extra, although it's not my favorite cover in the whole world. I think there's another edition with a nicer cover. But so I get it autographed. The only problem is I think I brought it home, and then I found out there's a little bit of dirt, like schmutz, like just dirty, like, and it's because it's a white cover, it really shows. So one of the few books I do have signed is like not in the best condition, which is just, it's kind of like a like Murphy's Law, like just when it rains it pours kind of thing. But anyway, that's the only one I could think of other than local interests books, which I don't want to get too in the weeds with here. Books about the UAE, the country that I live in. So number 12, let's go on. Do you have any bookish memorabilia on certain authors or books? No memorabilia, nothing. If I really like an author, a fiction author, I might look for their biography. Memorabilia, not really. Again, I mentioned earlier tote bags. Sometimes when I go to bookstores around the world, I'll buy a tote bag from that place. It'll be like a souvenir and it'll remind me, but even that I've stopped doing. But having like memorabilia of like figurines or something, or posters, or not too much. I'm not that kind of fan reader. Again, maybe that's more with fiction, but I'm trying to think. Nothing's coming to mind other than the tote bags. 13. What if? Another what if. Uh-oh. The world is about to suffer a cataclysm, but you have managed to get a space in a public underground nuclear shelter or nuclear bunker where you will live for 12 months. Oof. You are only allowed to take 5 books with you in the bunker. What do you take and why? Eesh. Yeah, these questions. Do you choose 5? I'm happy they allowed us to take 5 and not 1. Because 1 is a tough one. In such a scenario, I would always defer to the same answer if it was 5. I don't know how many volumes the Penguin edition is. I usually find it's in 3 or 6. It depends on the edition, but I would just, for this, my go-to is always the Edward Gibbon Decline and Fall of the Roman Empire. That's just an easy one. It'll probably be interesting. Interesting reading. I would probably take that. I don't have actually a copy of all of Edward Gibbon's Decline and Fall. Actually, at the bookstore I went to, they had it, but so I think it was divided into 6 volumes, but they didn't have 1, 2, and 3. They only had 4, 5, and 6. Somebody had purchased 1, 2, and 3 and had left 4, 5, and 6, which was really annoying. You'd think you just take the whole series. But no, so I decided not to get it. I wanted either complete or not at all. So, but I would probably take that. That's what I usually take. And the Decline and Fall is always, it's not even a book about antiquity. It's not about the fall. It's for what happens after the fall of Rome. So it's much more of a book about the Middle Ages than it is about the ancient world. So there's a lot of I guess it would probably be more Europe in the Middle Ages, but I'm sure there's a lot of Middle East because that's the same time that Islam came on the scene and changed the world. So yeah, Edward Gibbon for these kind of questions. I'll always you're stuck in an island. I'll take Edward Gibbon, and then I can read, reread, and they're big. So um, I do have an abridged version of the Decline and Fall, but I'm not interested in reading that. I want the full ones. Anyway, we'll go. Okay, now we are at the last one, number 14. How long ago did you realize your book buying number was much greater than your actual reading number? uh, uh, well, again, I buy I buy used books a lot. I do. I need to probably cut down or not purchase everything that catches my eye. Be more selective, basically. But as I've said in many previous videos, I buy a lot of books when I go used book shopping because I'm trying to support the used bookstores here in the UAE. There's not that many of them, and if I don't support them, they could go out of business. If they go out of business, it's one less bookstore for me, and then I'm down to two, or even one, or perhaps zero. So that's why I do it. I do try to go at least once a month and support these independent bookshops. But what does the prompt or the question say exactly? How long ago did you realize your book buying number was greater than your actual reading number? Yeah, I mean, it's grown. When did I realize? I mean, I didn't really realize it, but um, there's certainly, BookTube has expanded my reading horizons. So now when I go book shopping, I remember, oh, this booktuber told me about this. Oh, I saw this booktuber talk about this book or this, and then my book buying stacks increase. So I realized it, and I blame booktube for making me buy more and more books. Um, but yeah, that's it. That's the end of the tag. I'll wrap this up. The last prompt is tag others. Who can I tag off the top of my head? I'll tag JJ. I always tag JJ. I always tag Angelina at Books Do Things to Me. I'll tag her. I'll tag Shelf Learner. If Shelf Learner wants to do this, his channel, he's been growing, making longer content, longer content, booktube content. So if you want to do a tag, feel free to do this one. Who else can I tag? I think Andrew's already tagged Mike at Bibliophile Bookscape. Uh, who else? There's a bunch of. Again, if you're watching this and you want to tag, I can't off the top of my head. I should have made a list, but I didn't. If I mentioned you and you want to do this tag, consider yourself tagged. If you well, if I mentioned you, you are tagged. You have to do it, or you can do it if you want. If you want to do it and I didn't mention you, but you really want to do it, please feel free to do it. Please feel free to do it. Thank you, Andrew, for tagging me. I really appreciate it. Do check out his channel. He's out of Australia. I don't think I mentioned that in the beginning. He's a booktuber out of Australia. He's opened my eyes to a bit of Australian. A lot of Prime Minister books about Australia, but he also reads romance. He reads a lot of classics. Definitely check out his version of this tag and check out his channel. Subscribe to his channel. I think he really is a booktuber who deserves more subscribers and more viewers. He's really prolific and a very prolific reader and booktuber. And yeah, I'll wrap this up. Thank you so much if you made it this far, BookTube. Salute.